same time, and that was the vampire song assignment that you guys did. And the reason I'm going to bring it up right now is because the sample essay that I have for you guys comes from this poem song. It's a song. It's actually a song. The sample essay comes from this song. The sample essay has one less paragraph in it than you guys are going to write, but still, it still gives you the idea of what I'm looking for. So you have something to kind of model after, more or less. So you're not just kind of wandering around in the dark there. But it came from this poem. So you can kind of see, or the song. So you can kind of see how a paper can go from a song to a paper. And that's exactly what you guys were doing. I had asked you guys a few weeks ago, actually when we started poetry, to be thinking about a song that you might want to use, one that you listen to, one that's your song. And the reason I had you guys do the fancy shoes thing is I wanted you to first read it as a poem before you listened to it and before you watched the video, which reading your guys' reaction to that was pretty priceless. That was pretty fun. I'm glad some of you got a kick out of it and laughed, and then I got to laugh that some of you did not think it was funny at all and were a little appalled, which I actually thought was funny. So that's just funny. So it gave you a chance to start looking at songs as poetry, because they are, and then hear it and try to see, did the tone change for you? Did you feel different about the song once you heard it, and once you saw it, once other elements were added to the wording? And it's because that was backwards, right? Because you read it first. Now you guys were doing songs and you heard your song first. And a lot of you not only heard your songs, but you watched the video for your songs, because that's what people do. So you were doing it backwards, and now I'm asking you to look at your song and consider it as a poem. So you're actually doing it backwards from what we did with the fancy shoes. So you're looking at tone differently. You're going to be looking at tone backwards. Either way, I need you to think about it all together. All right? And I had you do the next assignment, this one, where I gave you this song, the Vampire Heart song. That's what it's called, actually. It's actually called Vampire Heart. I didn't put the name of it initially because I wanted you to read through it like a song, like a poem, and I didn't want you all to just go look up the video. I'm not sure there is a video for this song, but I didn't want you to go listen to the song first and then not read it, because it is a song. So I wanted you to read it. And for the points for this, I didn't really say much in it unless I didn't give you points or didn't give you full points. Then I said something to you. For everybody else, it looked like if you took an honest stab at it, because what you were supposed to do was go through it and look for 4 different devices. So you couldn't just say metaphor, 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 simile, 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 which is what some of you did. Or say 2 metaphors and 2 similes, which is what some of you did. You needed to find 4 different types of metaphorical devices in here, of poetry devices in here. The point of doing that was to see, which there's more than 4, there's many in here, but the point of doing that was to see if you could understand from the lecture and apply it to an actual poem or song here, because that's what you're going to have to do for your song and the paper that you're going to write, right? So if it looked like you took an honest stab at that, and I just looked through each one of them and looked like you tried to put it in there, tried to pull the quote, tried to explain why or how, I gave you the points, even though a lot of them were wrong. Like good with simile, good with metaphor, those you did pretty well. Sometimes people mixed them up. Not every single person, but almost every single person that tried to use paradox was wrong. It looked like one person, maybe 2 at the most, got paradox right, but almost everybody got paradox wrong. One person got synesthesia correct. Everybody else that used synesthesia was wrong. But I appreciated that you tried. And I was trying to think what else. Personification was pretty good. Some people mixed up personification and metaphor, but did pretty well more overall with personification. So there was all sorts of stuff in here. But if you didn't follow the directions, I did not give you all the points. That's just how it was. So that's how the points worked. So that's the only one that I didn't actually go through and do, correct and give you a lot of feedback on, because it's the last thing I graded. So I'm just going to kind of go through here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. And the only reason I'm going through here at all is because I want you to see how this moved into the paper that you're about to do. So I'm not going to go through every line, but there was the synesthesia was like right here, which, like I said, at least one person got this right. There might have been two, but for sure there was one. One of the last people I looked at had this right. Let me bleed you this song of my heart deformed. So that is some synesthesia right there, because you're talking about the mixing of the senses, right? Because if you remember back to the lecture, we talked about synesthesia being like the wine tastes of dance in sunburnt mirth. So when you think of wine and tasting wine, it's going to taste like something you would eat. It's not going to taste of something you would do, like dancing, or something that would happen to you and you would experience kinetically, like being sunburned. And being sunburned wouldn't be something that would be an experience of emotion like happiness. So it's like this whole bunch of different experiences, different kind of imagery experiences, different kinds of bodily experiences, sensory experiences that are kind of smashed together that would normally not be. So you wouldn't bleed somebody a song, right? You would sing them a song. So that's synesthesia. And there was a second one in here. Weep you a poem. You would maybe read somebody a poem, but you definitely wouldn't weep somebody a poem. That would be a peculiar poem. So those two were synesthesia, which you don't see all that often in modern day songs. So this was kind of an exception, and it's because he writes in the romantic style. So it means he had a lot of different devices in here, which is why I chose it. Escaping the wrath of my heart. Right? There was some personification right there, because your heart is just a muscle. It's not going to have wrath. Hands of shame. Your hands don't feel shame. They're just your hands. Fears can't come alive and entomb anybody, because fear is just an idea. That is a human idea. It is not something that can do anything by itself. So that is personification. I know there's a bunch of them in here. It's like I don't want to spend a lot of time in here, but wow, sorry about that. Your kiss, take me back home. Again, personification. A kiss can't do anything. It's certainly not going to pick somebody up and take them back home. So you kind of get the idea. And a lot of you talked about anaphora here. Yes, anaphora is the repetition. So always in a song, you're going to, there's a lot of places to have anaphora in a song. Repetition is used heavily in songs. And the easiest place to find it is in the chorus. So you would have to describe and discuss why did they choose to use this particular set of lines to repeat. Out of the whole song, why repeat this? What is so important about this? What is the point they're trying to get across here? Now, you don't have to use the chorus. Sometimes people will use something else in the song that's repeated to choose to talk about as their anaphora paragraph in their song, which is fine. So this whole thing was anaphora, so some of you chose that. Hold me like you held on to life, so we have similes. Love me like you love the sun, similes, right? We had metaphors. I'll be the thorns on every rose. So he's saying that That's what he's going to be. Saying is, not he's like that, but that's what he is. I am the nightmare waking you up. That's what he is, not that's what he's like. He's saying he is this. So these are metaphors, because he's not a thorn. He's a person. He's not a nightmare. He's a person. So there you go. You've been sent by hope. That's obviously not going to be true. It's metaphorical language, but we could also say personification of hope, right? Giving life to an idea, kind of like the fear coming alive and entombing somebody. So we'd have more personification there. So we have a lot of different things in here. Somebody said onomatopoeia for this, so that was interesting. Beating to your funeral song, because you have the beating of the drum and the word beating. So that was interesting. Nobody's ever said that before, so I kind of like that. So that was cool. Faith is lost and hell regained. Somebody said that was paradox. Okay, I can maybe accept that. Lead you along the path in the dark. I mean, it's all metaphorical language, but so I don't know. There's just a ton in here. It's like we could pick it apart all day, so let's not do that. But maybe paradoxical here, which I think somebody did choose. Came alive and entombed me. So coming alive, but to kill somebody. But I mean, that's not really a paradox so much as it is turning something around. Paradox is when two things coexist at the same time that cannot, which is not, that's not really what that was. So you can really pick this apart. There's a whole bunch of pieces and different types of language in there. Somebody did euphony in here in multiple pieces. In fact, a couple of you did, which was great, especially with the L sounds. Love me like you love the sun. The long L sounds are euphony, absolutely. I don't know. There was a lot. So pulling this apart with all these different colors and all this different stuff. As soon as you start doing that, you can start filling out device names, quote pulls, and meaning. As soon as you can do that with your own song, guess what? You're ready to write your paper. Because what is this paper going to look like? That's what we're going to talk about right now. So I posted this up there so you understand what your paper is supposed to be. You have to choose your song, and these are your sections. I very, very, very specifically told you what each one of your paragraphs should contain so that you don't get lost in it, okay? So you need to introduce your song and the band or singer so that I know which one you're talking about, because some songs are remakes of songs, right? So I need to know if you're talking about the version of it from 1970 or the version of it from 2015. Because that could make a huge difference in tone, as we saw with the whole typo negative thing. So summarize the song. I don't want you to retell me the song from beginning to end. Just give me a basic summary of what was like the main point of the song, okay? It may help you to kind of look at it yourself, stanza by stanza, if you've never done that before. You kind of look at it that way to try to get a main idea. That doesn't mean I want you to do that to me. Explain it to me stanza by stanza. That may help you think about it yourself before you have to summarize it for me. Make sure you state the overall purpose and meaning of the song. This is your thesis statement, so this is going to be really important, okay? That's your thesis. Last sentence of the intro, tell me what three literary devices that you feel help get the main point across. So you have chosen to tell me what you think one of the main points of the song are. Now, one of the reasons I had you guys do the fancy shoes thing is to see if you could pick out a main theme of the song. So some of you not all of you came up with different themes. A lot of you came up with the same one, but several of you came up with different themes. You know why? Because there's different themes in it. There were many, many ideas that they were trying to get across. So definitely one of the main ideas was the shoes don't make the man or woman, right? It's like just because you have fancy shoes on doesn't make you fancy. It doesn't make you a good person. It doesn't make you a better person. It certainly doesn't make you better than me because you have fancier shoes than I do, or I have fancier shoes than you do, right? So that was definitely one of the messages. That was kind of a surface message, but also there was something beneath that, which probably only 3 of you got to, which was kind of a inside deeper message, which was, why do we all feel like we have to do that? You know, we don't all have to get in step with that. We don't all have to be like everybody else and all have fancy shoes so that we all have to stand in line to be the same. We can be outside of that. It's okay, and we can still like each other and appreciate each other. So there's a deeper message in there. We don't all have to be the same like robots, right? Hence the whole robot motif. Also, they're a steampunk band. If you don't know what steampunk is, now you have a new word to look up and explore something new. Ta-da! Yeah, it's like a whole thing out there in cosplay. It's a different thing. Also, they're a harmonics band, like, you know, barbershop quartet stuff. So it's just a whole different thing. And it was meant to be silly. And it was. And it also had satire, right? Because sometimes that gets across in a different way. But it is a different genre, quite of its own, most certainly. But it had an important message in there about conformity and jealousy and bragging, and how do we all get stuck in this loop of feeling like we have to be the same, but we don't want to be the same. All right? So there was depth in there as well as silliness. It most definitely silliness. So I asked you to look for that, and you all came up with something, and some of you more so than the others, right? And you all were looking for it, so it's good. And they got different things, and you got there in different ways. That's awesome. And that was you doing this right here, looking for purpose or meaning of the song. Songs are going to have multiple purposes, multiple meanings. I'm just asking you for you to give me one that you got out of it. Now, you're not going to use the word I, because this is a paper, so you're going to be in third person. Yeah? So you will just make a statement. One of the main purposes of the song is to speak out about, or to state that, or to show that. Okay? One thing. And once you've decided on that one thing that you're going to explore, then you're going to choose 3 literary devices, 3 poetry devices that you noticed in the song that are going to help get that across. So you saw that they use metaphor, you saw simile in there, and maybe visual imagery. Okay? That's great. Or you saw synesthesia or anaphora. Well, you can't say anaphora because you're going to, of your 3 that you choose, you can't say tone and anaphora because I'm making you use tone and anaphora anyways. So you have to pick 3 things that are besides tone and anaphora because you're doing that anyway. So 3 other things: simile, metaphor, personification. If you use imagery, which is fine with me, you have to be specific. And if you found multiple types of imagery, like auditory, gustatory, tactile, I don't care. That's fine. And you could talk about them specifically, but they all have to stay in one paragraph. In other words, you don't get to use up all 3 of your literary device paragraphs talking about imagery. That's not going to happen. I will say you had 1 and the other 2 don't count. You can talk about all of them in one paragraph. Okay, so here's what paragraph 2 is going to be. Paragraph 2, you're going to talk about tone. Specifically talk about tone. Overall tone. What was the overall tone of your song that you chose? Was it a serious tone, or was it a sad tone? Was it silly, sarcastic, melancholy, gothic, angry? I don't know, because I don't know what song you chose. And so talk about that. I don't know if I put tone of characters because I don't know what's in your song. So you could just talk about the overall tone, okay? You must include how the music affects the tone. That has to be in there. All right? As in, besides the overall tone, how is the tone affected by the instrument choice, right? So did they use, like, was it like a metal song? So they used a lot of heavy guitar. You hear heavy bass in there. There's double drums. I don't know. Or was it acoustic? So how did that affect the tone? It made it feel softer, or they used piano, or what? I don't know. So you have to tell me. The beat made a difference. The singer had a super low voice or a really high voice. In fact, several of you mentioned the singer switching to this really high voice, and that helped make the tone silly and not serious, which it did. How does this alter the tone? So you have to have that as part of your discussion. So now that you've told me how the tone works, and in particular, wrap this up by telling me, what does this do for the song overall, which I kind of just said. Why should the tone be the angry or sad? Do you think that changes the message? Because even with the fancy shoes, a few of you said that the message when you read it seemed like they were really trying to get an important message across, but once you heard it, you felt like the silly sound took away from the message. Is that good or bad? So after that, your next paragraph number 3, is poetry device number 1. So you have decided, let's say, metaphor. You found a metaphor in your song. That's great. So in this section, you need to tell me what device you're discussing. So for example, one device the author uses to get his point across is hyperbole. Hyperbole is the exaggeration of content to make a point. So you're telling me what device you're discussing, and then you define it. As in, you tell me what that means. This is a good place to maybe put in one of your resources. All right? If you look up in like a dictionary or an encyclopedia, or there's some literary websites, as long as it's like a good literary website, like an EDU or something, some discussion about or defining of literary devices and what they're used for, this may be a good place. One of these paragraphs like this may be a good place for you to put in your resource. That's about as in-depth as we're going to get in the quote-unquote research part of this essay, okay? Because we just didn't have that kind of time to do that kind of thing. So I'm okay with that, it being as part of your definition for your device. All right? I don't want you to get migraines over this. Then give me a few examples of where the author uses this in your song. Just like you did with the vampire piece that you guys did, right? You had to go and show me the device name and where in the song. So if you were going to say simile, and then you pulled the quote, love me like you love the sun. So the author used simile. For example, when the author says, love me like you love the sun, this means blah, 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 right? That's what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing. So then you tell me what it means. Why would the author say it this way? Why use this metaphorical language? What does this reveal about the song? How does this work back to what you said was the overall purpose or meaning of the song? Why say that? Okay? And then you're just going to rinse and repeat for the next 2 paragraphs. Device number 2, device number 3, whatever you chose. And then you're going to talk about the repetitiveness, right? Anaphora, which a lot of people choose the chorus, right? And you don't have to choose the chorus. Discuss how anaphora works. What does that mean? How does it work in a song? Why did the author choose to specifically repeat these words or phrases that you chose? Why give them more importance over the rest of the song? I don't know. That's you exploring that possibility. And then you have your conclusion. You're wrapping it up, restating your thesis here, right? Pull it together, reveal what you've figured out so far, and that's it. So basic requirements, you need all the things noted above. It's MLA formatted. You need 3 resources. One is your song, and the other 2 need to be outside resources. So you can find 2 different places to bring in ways to discuss one of your devices. Okay, that's fine with me, so that it's not too cumbersome and time consuming on your part. Obviously, you're going to need to work cited with those in-text citations, right? Wherever you borrowed the definitions that you're putting in, you need to cite them so you don't get busted for plagiarism. This has an 800 word minimum. You're not going to have a problem getting that with 7 paragraphs. It's a 7 paragraph essay. That's what you're going to end up with. A 7 paragraph essay. One's an intro, one's a conclusion. So you have 5 paragraphs in the middle. So these are your paragraphs, telling you exactly what they are. I also attached here these 2 things. The grading rubric, so you know exactly how I'm grading it. Basically, this is set up exactly with what I just did. That your intro has your band, you're summarized, you have a thesis, you have a frame up, and you have a conclusion inside of your introduction. You have a tone section, overall tone, what makes it that way, discuss how voice and rhythm and tempo work and instruments, and what does this do for the song. Literary device 1, identify the device, define the device, give at least an example out of the song, discuss meaning, and then these 2 say the exact same thing. All right, those are the things I come through. Use this as a checklist. It's why I'm giving it to you, because this is exactly what I do with it when I'm grading your paper. I'm like, check, 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 check. Literally, that's what I do with it. Check, 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 check. You either have it or you don't. And when you don't, this goes down. Anaphora, what did you choose from your song as an example of anaphora? Importance of the example from the song, think back to the thesis, right? What was important about it? MLA formatting, that you met word count, that you have your margins, Times New Roman, you have a title, last name, page number, correct information in the left-hand corner, blah, blah, blah. You have your in-text citations, quotation marks if you quoted, and you have a works cited page, and grammar. Stay in the third person, stay in the present tense. Do you have fragments, run-ons, agreement errors, and all that trash? Hopefully not, so you don't want to lose grammar points. This is worth 100 points. All right, so I'm giving you the grade sheet that I'm going to use to grade your paper. And the last thing that we have, and I did not post it up there, but I will, is the sample paper, which, like I said, it's actually missing the anaphora paragraph because this was made before I used to do that. So, and I think that the MLA is going to be wrong on it because it's pretty old, and MLA has since changed. So the MLA, the works cited is going to be wrong. But make sure you have last name, page number, all your stuff up here, your name, my name, what English section we are, which is not 00, date, and give yourself a title. If you put the name of the song up here, which this is not the name of the song, but if you put the name of the song in your title, then the song needs to be in quotes, and you need to have more than just the song up here. Otherwise, I think I'm reading the song, and I'm not. So you need to say something else, like opening up or reviewing or something, the song. Okay, so you can look, we'll kind of go through this and then I'll wrap this up and end it because this is now getting really long. There are countless number of songs in the world to suit every listener's taste and mood. Many of these songs include tales of love's raptures and woes. One such song is Vampire Heart by the band Him, a self-professed love metal band. This song is about the emotional tug-of-war involved in romantic love. The singer likens himself to a vampire, essentially living off love and draining others of their hope as a consequence. The main point of the song is to highlight love's constant fluctuation from dark to light and the confusion that it causes. Him uses a myriad of devices to get the point across, including tone, personification, synesthesia, and simile. So, started off telling you what I said I wanted, which was the name of the song and the band, right? So those were 2 of the requirements right there. And I said you needed to tell me a little bit about it, like summarizing, which is what this is doing, giving you a little bit of summary. And then you needed to give me a thesis statement. The main point of the song is to highlight love's constant fluctuation from dark to light and the confusion that it causes. So there's my thesis statement, And then the frame up, which gives me the main points I'm going to cover here. Him uses a myriad of devices to get his point across, including tone, because everybody's going to talk about tone, personification, synesthesia, and simile. So there's my tone, which everybody covers, plus the 3 devices that I chose to cover for this particular song. So there's all the pieces that you need to have in yours as well. So tone, which everybody will talk about. Tone plays an important role in any song or poem. So there's a nice, simple topic sentence. In Vampire Heart, the tone has a gothic quality. So telling you right off the bat what kind of tone, which you have to cover, right? What kind of tone? I can't do anything with your tone paragraph if I don't know what kind of tone you're saying it is. With a title like Vampire Heart and words sprinkled through the song like tomb, funeral, and nightmare, the reader can't help but make the connection to a romantically gothic tale. Gothic. So there's my in-text citation that you will be able to see the connection to in the works cited. This sets the backdrop for the song's point, placing love in both darkness and light, good and evil. The singer's voice is low and mournful, sounding at times, yet earnest in the need to be loved. The tempo of the song is slow, almost ballad-like, to let the listener have time to contemplate its meaning. The heavy electric guitar sounds give the song an edgy feel that has a dangerous and dark quality as well. All of these factors work together to create the overall gothic tone. So in this last sentence, I pulled it together to bring it back to how it's gothic. But notice I talked about the singer's voice and the tempo and the instrumentation in it. So you need to do that as well. And then we go to the devices. One of the devices the song contains is personification. So topic sentence telling you what it is. Personification is used when human attributes are given to something non-human. So I define it, which you have to do as well. This song has several examples of personification. For example, when the singer uses terms such as the wrath of my heart and hands of shame. So giving you quote pulls. A heart is a muscle without ability to feel emotions, nor can shame have hands. The singer uses these to create a visual for the reader and an understanding that the heart represents love here, and shame can be all-consuming and feel as if it has a mind of its own. The singer also mentions he's waiting for someone's kiss to take him home, which also is personification suggesting the power of a kiss or love. Lastly, the author writes, when all fears come alive and entomb me. Though fear cannot actually physically entomb him, this line suggests that the singer, while initially looked upon as the darker entity in the song, is ultimately the victim of his own need for love, which produces a fear so immense it has its own power and will. So bringing back to this darkness idea. Synesthesia is also used in this song to help make a point. So again, being clear in the topic sentence. Synesthesia is when different or opposing sensory perceptions are combined to create a new perspective. So defining it. Oops. And here's my in-text citation. In this case, 2 lines from the song show synesthesia, which we talked about already. Let me bleed you this song and let me weep you this poem. Both of these examples present physical impossibilities by combining 2 different sensory realities. A song is something heard, auditory, but the singer says he bled the song. The second instance does a similar thing by weeping a poem, where weeping is a physical act like bleeding, which is tactile but is coupled with something that is usually read or heard, auditory. Essentially, these 2 instances of synesthesia are used to really get across how deeply felt the song and poem are, and that they both come from deep within the writer-singer, so much so that they must be bled or wept to be given. Of course, indicating weeping and bleeding of poetry and sentiments of love feeds into the tragic, romantic, gothic style of the song, and which brings me back to the thesis statement. Lastly, now for you guys, this won't be your last paragraph because you'll have anaphora after this, but for originally this paper did not have anaphora in it. The song contains multiple uses of similes, so again, a nice clean-cut topic sentence. Simile is comparing something that is known to something that is less known, using like or as. In this case of the song, the similes are used in the song's chorus, so are repeated, highlighting importance. The two similes are hold me like you held on to life, love me like you love the sun. The unknowns here are the degrees the author is asking the other person to go. Oh, great. The long guy's here. He tells the other person how to hold him and how to love him like you love the sun. The simile presents the depth. The idea of life and sun here also play into the vampire and gothic motif and also highlight the depth and seriousness of the romantic struggle the song is about in the first place. All right, and then wrapping it up. You guys will have one more paragraph in between here on anaphora, but this one's wrapping it up. There's a lot more to the song than what's on the surface. One quick listen or read would not be sufficient to get the romantically gothic depths. Like many of hymn songs, Vampire Heart portrays the emotional struggles of those in love. Ultimately, the writer sees this struggle as a constant war of, wow, that's so loud, darkness, good and evil. It makes sense that the song comes from the album paradoxically named Dark Light. So you guys get the picture. So there's a works cited page, which is always separate, and it's, like I said, this is not set up in the new MLA, so don't copy